Come on, man.
It's!
Go for it, dude.
It's Friday! Friday! Friday!
Well, some pretty amazing news here. We gave a big drum roll here tonight that the attendance record in NCAA college soccer, the object was to beat that record. Well, this is the largest attendance ever at an NCAA college soccer match, 25,433. A remarkable turnout here tonight. I think we noticed when we saw the lines still trying to get into the stadium at kickoff that this record could get broken tonight, and it has been.
It's an incredible night, Glenn, for not only women's soccer, but just women's sports in general. Great support from the fan base here in Georgia, from the athletics department. And this is a program that wants to keep the ball and the momentum moving forward from the Men's World Cup and the NWSL coming here, U.S. Soccer planting their flag and their...
Okay, so that was Jill Lloyden and Glenn Davis. David, can you hear me now? And it's me, because once again, you sit there and you unplug things and you plug things back in. And you're wondering, okay, can I be heard in all of this? And apparently, once again, when you unplug and you plug back in, it doesn't give you a default setting. So anyway, yeah. So why don't we do, I'm going to do this just because I'm pissed off and, just in general premise. So guess what? We're going to go here. All right, now that I can be heard, basically, hi, it's a Friday, and here's the rundown for the morning. Michael Parkhurst, bottom of the hour. We got Mentoring to get into. We got Atlanta United to get into. Anything else on his mind to get into? Maybe Rhode Island FC. We have to talk to our mogul in training about that. 10 o'clock, Carlos Mauricio Ramirez from Apple TV is going to join us, and he's going to break down what it's going to be like to call Orlando and RSL, what he's seen so far this season. Last time we caught up with him, he was in a hotel room near San Francisco Bay Area Stadium during the cup that the world was chasing after, but the hotel might have been closer to San Francisco than the stadium that he was discussing, the jeans-based stadium in Santa Clara. And I might have been like 50 feet closer, but whatever. Yeah, he was there. And that was the last time that he was on with us. He is now officially apparently moved from the left coast to the east coast. And he also has a four-legged guardian with him, and we will find out what happened with that move and how he is integrating in. But he and Lori Lindsay have Orlando and RSL, and that's going on this weekend. Now, after CMR, we get Brian Dunseth coming in, and I got a couple of things to get into with Dunny. The Major League Soccer ranking right now, especially after the World Cup, and he's got Leagues Cup coming up with Leon and RSL, so we get to talk about RSL a little bit and discuss the Man Mountain Jarrett Smith and what he has been able to tell us when it comes to all the talent that's there. Sergi Solans, he was being looked at by Toulouse, and so RSL inks him to a 5-year deal after Xavier Gozo ends up doing the Dr. Who bit out of the telephone booth in England, signing for Crystal Palace. Who else do we get the credit to? Because you got Hezer Khani that's attached to this. You've got Diego Luna that's attached to this. Who gets credit in this organization for making all this stuff happen? It's an RSL question. He's also got LAFC in Portland with fellow FSU alum Max Bretos after they had Colorado and LAFC. So we get to ask what in the wide world of sports is going on with LAFC. And I also have a National Soccer Hall of Fame question that I may lead off with because he may vent for a bit. So there we go. So the show in and of itself is Parky, bottom of the hour, CMR at 10, Brian Dunseth after that. Who knows if anybody else is going to come crashing in. That's what Fridays are for. We'll get you ready for the weekend. All of your juice boxes and who's got whistles and flags. That's going to be probably after Dunny to get you ready for the weekend. Something called the Premier League's back up and running. So we're going to let you know about that and those juice boxes too. So that's what the show is. And we wanted to start off with what happened last night in Athens, where a new record has been set. 2.5,433, breaking all the records. And it was so crowded heading up to the kick at 7:03 that you had lines of folks literally up both hills. And I don't know how many of you have gone to college football games at the University of Georgia, but they were letting folks in the end zone and those particular gates. And there might have been a bit of an underestimation as to how many folks might be coming. They had to continually open up sections because folks were still looking for places to sit. Redcoat Band was there, and they were amazing. And they were giving the JMU players hell, treating it almost like free throws when they had corner kicks in the first 45 that were right in front of the band. And you had, as you're getting closer to 7 o'clock, you literally had folks up the road that were still trying to figure out a way to get in. It just got to the point where it's just like, you got to fine, just come on in. And so it finished up at 25-4-33. I think it was probably more than that, but you also have to get into scan tickets and things like that. 25-4-33 is the official number at Dooley Field. And you end up the previous women's mark 14-4-10 in 1999, Spartan Stadium in San Jose. Men's record 1980, St. Louis and SIU Edwardsville, 22-5-12. So this is now a new track record for any level of soccer on the collegiate space, 25-4-33. Like I said, I still think it was more, but it was a great showing and reminder of where we are right now with the game. Not just soccer, college soccer as well. So it was a fantastic showing. Georgia ends up getting the Duke. They win at 6-0. Here's the abbreviated version of your highlights, and it's Glenn Davis, Jill Lloyd, and SEC Network, and ESPN plus the SEC.
Sage Glover off the post. The follow is knocked in. It is 1-0 Georgia. Pedersen splits two. Still Pedersen. Helps it on. It's a shooting opportunity. What a hit and what a goal. Three. Cutting in on her right. Getting a shot off is blocked by Flores. Shot again. And it's 3-0. That hits the upper corner. And Georgia, just an all-around midfielder. Here's a good-looking cross here to the back post. The header's it. Spectacular goal. Under 8 minutes left. Flores might have gotten caught in possession here. Here comes Georgia. A chance for a fifth. Empty net is side-footed home.
Your final. It was a UGA over JMU. Mia Towns in the 8th got the rebound off of Sage Glover's PK that went flush off the post. Then you got Hanukkah Hamano getting a brace, Ava Stat getting a goal before the break, Mona Childs, Layla Avila getting their first collegiate goals in the final minutes, 6-0 your final. And next up for UGA is what we used to know as Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I think they're now just Milwaukee. So Maddie's got the call for that one. That one is Sunday at noon. So it's brunch at the Turner Soccer Complex. And Georgia continues. They're now 1-0-2 this season. 2 draws against B1G competition. They come home. They get the win against James Madison. And they are now off and running. Senior Day, by the way, at the Turner Soccer Complex. That is, once again, noon, Athens, ESPN Plus. Be there, book 'em, Dano, aloha. So here is part of the post-match, and you get to hear from Kadani McAlpine about what this whole thing meant, and it meant a lot.
First and foremost, I think it is important to thank everybody involved for this game, from our president all the way down to the field crew and everybody who was involved in making this happen. This doesn't happen simply because we have the idea. It happens because everybody involved jumps on 2 feet and makes it go. And this was a major win for University of Georgia. It was a major win for our program. It was a major win for collegiate soccer. And we had an opportunity to celebrate one of the best moments in women's soccer ever, that I think is the catalyst for us being here right now. So I have to show gratitude to all of those people, including those women, that kind of set this thing rolling.
Questions? Coach, we captured Channel 2 action. We spoke yesterday. You said, I want that moment where you look up at the stands. It's everything you hoped for. Was this everything you hoped for, not just in the execution of the game, but the atmosphere and everything that came with it?
And more, and more. I think the best part of the games like this are always to hear the little kids, to hear their squeals and screams and whatnot. That's the best part of the game, because you know some way, somehow, there's an imprint that's happening in that moment, and we got all of that tonight.
JV, you've been around this program a long time. What was this moment like for you, and where does it rank among your favorite Georgia moments so far?
Definitely number one. I think it's so special for us to be able to play in front of our fans and even like break the record. And we've worked so hard in rebuilding the program and also just being ready for the season in this moment. And I think we did really well being able to handle all emotions, but also going out and getting the win. So it's really awesome, really good moment.
Maya, can you talk about your goals, but also just what it was like being out there in front of the biggest crowd ever for a college soccer game?
Yeah, I mean, it was an absolutely incredible experience. We talked a lot the other day, at least like a small group of us talked a lot about how we don't rise to the occasion, we fall to a little more preparation, and I feel like we did exactly that today. I think that we went out there and showed everybody exactly what Georgia soccer was, and just to be able to look up in the stands and see so many people like riding for us and supporting us and just doing it on such a large scale was really something special, honestly.
So that was Jordan Brown, Mia Towns, Kadani McAlpine. 25-4-33, that's your new marker, everybody. And once again, it continues to show and reinforce. We always talk about the South's got something to say. Did it again in Athens last night, UGA and James Madison, and the first win of the 2026 season for Kadani McAlpine and the Georgia Bulldogs. So very, very cool stuff there. And it was, it was great to be there. Maddie had her post-game report. You can catch that on social media. But just to see the environment and see everyone embrace what's going on and to have a moment like that. Kadani did say that, don't know if this is going to be a regular thing, but because of all the planning that goes into this kind of stuff. But, obviously you'd like to do something like this and continue to build on what you were able to do last night at Sanford Stadium. So, find an early season matchup or find a matchup deep in SEC play that, might be attached to cocktail parties or, something like that. So you'll get to see stuff like this going forward, but very, very cool that it was there. And cool to be a part of that last night. And thanks once again to everybody, Jake Stanley and everybody at UGA, for putting up with us and all of our coverage that we have there. All right, let's get you around what's going on, the rest of the college activity in the red clay. Georgia State opens 2026. They get a win, beating USC Upstate 2-1. First half goals, David Martins Jorge and Pavel Romero Garmendia. And Finn Marquezin, 5 saves. Panthers get their first win, head to UAB in 4 days. Mercer dropped their season opener to FAU. Michelle Tinchu, Xavi Chateau, David Jesus scoring for the Owls. Mercer outshot FAU 9-4 in the first half. Henry Hampshaw, 3 saves for the Bears, and they travel to North Florida on Sunday. Georgia Southern gets a win behind a brace from Broden Baralegi. They knock off Florida Gulf Coast 3-1. Twice in his collegiate debut, Mitch Pixley opened the scoring after almost 2 years to the date for his first collegiate goal against Florida Gulf Coast. Eagles get their first win. They go to Wilmington on Sunday. West Georgia falls late to ETSU. 87th minute goal from Alex Beck. Strong second half from West Georgia. Emily Sanabria, 5 saves. West Georgia is now 0-2-1. They get Middle Tennessee State on Sunday. Georgia Southern, Jacksonville, they play to a goalless draw. And it was Quinn Wilson, 8 saves, second straight shutout. Georgia Southern now 2-0-1. And they host Wilmington on Sunday. Mercer women, they went to Orono, Maine to take on the Bears. Maine wins that one 3-1. Louise Reinwald scores twice. Olivia Borey scores Mercer's goal. Ariel Bernard denied a Maine PK just at the end of the first half. Bears go to 2-1. They get South Carolina State on Sunday at Betts in Middle Georgia. And Sanford beat Georgia State late on the women's side 1-0. 76-minute goal, Samantha DeLuca. Panthers almost equalize. Sanaya Tucker's late shot saved before going off the crossbar. Georgia State is now 1-2, and they get the Wofford Terriers on Sunday. So that is what to stare at from the red clay, and your breakdown of everything that went on in the college game. And so keep an eye on that. And if you have the opportunity, let's see, Georgia Gwinnett on the men's and women's sides in the NAIA. Men's team ranked the highest they have ever been ranked in the preseason polls, number 5 in the NAIA. And if I believe the women, I think the women are ranked at number 12 to start the season. But GGC, the Grizzlies, they have 2 teams ranked right out of the blocks in the NAIA. And I was doing the math when I was reaching out to all of the programs here with all of their notes and everything. I think it's 38 programs in the state of Georgia alone. And that includes junior colleges. So there's 38 institutions, including junior colleges, that have soccer in the state of Georgia. So trying to send out that email 38 straight times to try to be kept up to date with everything, it's like, okay, so if I send it here, and send it here. So yes, that was intriguing, to say the very least. To find out that number was also really eye-opening. 38 institutions here in the state, whether we're talking JUCO or 2-year or 4-year. NAIA, NCAA, doesn't matter. NJCAA, 38 institutions that we're going to be keeping an eye on in the red clay here with the soccer season up and running on the collegiate side. And so keep an eye out for the Red Clay Soccer Report in audio and video form. Should be out usually in the midweek, and that'll be off and running as a part of everything that we've got here at SDH. Okay, before we get into everything else, is that bright? Is that bright to you? It looks like it's bouncing off of everything, and it's not. There we go. Okay, because I thought it looked a little too bright. All right, so let's get into what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. So I guess this is a combination of opening kickoff and the what to watch, where to watch it, and from our friends at Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important because it helps us out, helps you out when it comes to everything going on. A and B divisions in South America. It is Tigo Sports ties CATV, TAY out of Argentina, which means you get the Copa Argentina, Libertadores, and Sudamericana on the BNs. BN has 4 European leagues: Portugal, Turkey, France, Poland. They're up and running. You can catch that on the BNs. You can also get everything out of Africa, AFCON, WAFCON, Champions League, all the World Cup qualifiers. That's all there as well on the BNs. TVV out of Venezuela, CDO Plus out of Chile, Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru, Nuestra Tele on occasion, but like I said, a lot of the A and B divisions when it comes to everything going on in South America. So here's what's going on today. BN, Ligue 1, 2:45, simulcast on BN en Español, Marseille and Strasbourg. FS1 at 11 o'clock, Liga MX Juárez and America. 9 o'clock FS2, working backward, Tigres and Atlante. Premier League kicks in today. Like I said, we'll do juice boxes in the final half hour. Arsenal and Coventry City kick things off at 3 o'clock. The ESPN Deportes, La Liga, Real Betis, Real Sociedad's at 3. The league we don't talk about is on Fox Deportes on a doubleheader. Liga MX also there, Juárez in America at 11. Universo has your Premier League kickoff and the doubleheader in Liga MX. Golazo has the Scottish Championship at 2:30 today. Inverness, Caledonian Thistle. You get to figure out whose Thistle is best. Inverness, Caledonian, or Partick. That's at 2:30. On the Plus, La Liga, Real Betis, Real Sociedad. Fox ONE has the league we don't talk about, as does Fox Soccer Plus. DFB Pokal on One Football. That is 2 matches at noon, and then Hansa Rostock and Stuttgart at 2:45. Paramount Plus is also simulcasting the Scottish Championship. Tubi has the extra Klasa with Cracovia Krakow and Wichista Krakow. Ooh, that's a derby at 2:30. VIX has your LPF out of Argentina. 1:30, Aldo Civi, Union Santa Fe. 7 o'clock, Estudiantes and San Lorenzo. Women's side, DAZN USA has the Frauen Bundesliga at 12:20. Fox ONE has Liga MX Femenil at 7 and 11. Peacock has the Gainbridge Super League at 7:30. Amazon Prime has your NWSL at 10 o'clock, San Diego and Utah. VIX also has Liga MX Femenil at 7 and 11. So Saturday, your leagues. La Liga on Big ABC at 3:30. Español's on ABC. Tongue tire. BNB and Español is a doubleheader in League 11:15 and 2:45. CBS Sports Network, Serie A doubleheader. They're kicking off Championship at 10 a.m. Preston North End and Wolves. USL Championship also 10 o'clock, Orange County and Tulsa. ESPN2 has La Liga at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, Athletic Club in Sevilla. NBC has the Premier League, Brentford and Spurs at 12:30. The Marley in downtown Decatur has the Brentford Party. NBCSN, Premier League at 10 o'clock. Ipswich, Sunderland, Nottingham Forest, Leeds, USA, 7:30, Hull City, Manchester United, Everton, and Crystal Palace. DFL Super Cup at 2:30. BN Español simulcasting Ligue 1. ESPN Deportes, triple header La Liga, 11 and 1:30 and 3:30. Fox Deportes, Colombia's Primera A. Deportes Tolima and Atletico Bucaramanga late in the afternoon. Liga MX and the league we don't talk about also. Telemundo, Serie A at 12:30. Super Cup at 2:30. Liga MX 7:07. TUDN has Liga MX at 11. Universo, doubleheader Premier League, Serie A, Liga MX, Univision, Liga MX late. Apple TV's got all your games in Major League Soccer. Golazo Network has Serie A, English Championship, USL Championship, but they are not broadcasting Rhode Island FC. We have to talk to them about this. ESPN Plus, La Liga, Eredivisie, USL Championship. Rhode Island's got Monterey Bay, by the way, tomorrow night at 7:30. And we'll ask about that particular matchup coming up in a bit. 8 teams in League 1. Fox 1 has League Canadian Premier, Colombia, and the league we don't talk about. Fox Soccer Plus, triple header, Canadian Premier League, and One Soccer. 4 matchups in MLS Next Pro, including Atlanta United and OCB. That's at 1 o'clock, 12:30 pregame here on the network. Maddie and Jason will have the call from the Children's Health Carolina Training Ground. Paramount Plus, Serie A, Championship, League 2, Scottish Premiership, USL Championship. Peacock's got the Premier League. Amazon Prime's got Liga MX. VIX has Argentina and Liga MX. Women, Ion, doubleheader, 6:30, 8:45. DAZN USA, Frauen Bundesliga, Northern Super League at 7 on ESPN Plus. NWSL Plus, North Carolina Courage, Boston Legacy. Liga MX Femenil on Fox O&E. Peacock, doubleheader, Super League. Tubi, NWSL, doubleheader. VIX, Liga MX Femenil, 8 o'clock. Good Lord, people. Got a lot going on. Time to catch up with our mogul in training and find out about Monterey Bay and Rhode Island FC. Monterey Bay and Rhode Island FC, so hit me.
Goodness, John, you need about 18 streaming services to catch
kidding.
some of the games you just talked about.
You ain't kidding, brother. I mean, and one of them's yours. So you roadied up there, and that's why you weren't with us last couple of weeks. You roadied up to Rhode Island. So what have you seen, mogul in training?
Yeah, it was good to be up there. It was the first time my kids and wife had seen the stadium in person. So, stadium actually up and running.
Yeah.
They saw it in construction. So it was good to be up. We had a great time. The team won 2-0. The Legacy played at our stadium the next day.
There you go.
Got to that match. So that was fun. Got to a Red Sox game while I was out there. So it was a great trip. Kids love to be at the beach. So it was a really good trip home. Got to see some family.
Yes. Before everybody has to head back to school and the house gets emptied about 7:30 every morning, or at least when you're taking folks to school. How does that work? Do they get buses, or do they get the mogul in training limo service?
No more limo service needed, as the daughter is now driving to school. So she can take herself and her younger brother.
There you go.
And I just head out the door with Deacon and head for a walk.
And Deacon's pretty much over the whole thing. And he goes, "You're talking, shut up."
Exactly.
Right now, Rhode Island's 7th in the chaos that is the Eastern Conference, because it's like there's Tampa and everybody else. We know this. Tampa's like off and running, and they're going to just basically sit there and go, okay, try and catch us. They've won 4 in a row, unbeaten in 5, 11 points clear. Then you've got that Chase group that's 3 points separating 2 through 5. And then there's the other Chase group where right now you and Indy 11, same record. You've got a better goal difference, but it's the head-to-head, I believe, is the first tiebreaker. So that's why Indy's in 6, you're in 7. Hartford's a point behind you in 8. The Miami FC, not to be confused with any other Miami FC, but the Miami FC, they've lost 4 of 5, 1 point in their last 5 matches. They're now below the bar. Loudoun's at 19 chasing. Birmingham's at 17 chasing. So, what else is new? The Eastern Conference is chaos.
Yeah. What we're feeling pretty good about where we are. We've had a more consistent season this year than we have had the previous 2. So we've got a couple games in hand on the teams right above us, which is nice, other than Indy. So we're feeling pretty good. We do have a lot of movement within our roster right now, which is good stuff mostly. We sent Clay Holstad to FC Dallas recently, which is phenomenal for us. We have a big transfer over to Europe that's about to be complete.
Oh,
so that's fantastic. And that hurts us in the short term for sure.
Yeah.
but it's great for the club and for the long-term vision. So really, really good things there. But yeah, we've got some other players that need to step up. We've got a young Englishman that's just joined the group, and he will be looking to get his first minutes tomorrow. So excited about him. He's a winger, number 9.
Okay. And I think a lot of folks may not necessarily understand how vital those transfers are, which once again goes to the development and the looking at the talent that you have. In Major League Soccer, they sit there and they look at 7 and 8 figures to the left of the decimal place, and they're going, yeah, okay, that's business as usual. But in USL Championship, when you get to develop talent, you get to bring talent in, it gets recognized, you get to move it on. It's that much more vital than we may realize, just because of, we assume we're looking at transfers and transfers happen. But it's more vital, I think, for your framework in USL Championship. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we're on way smaller budgets, right? Our total roster budget is less than a lot of players in MLS make these days in 1 year. So, when we're getting 6 figures for a transfer, that's good for us, and it's important. Not finances aside, we've always said we want to be a club that promotes our players, right, and does right by our players. So yes, losing a player mid-season on loan to FC Dallas hurts us, but is it good for the player? Has he earned it and deserves it? Yes. So go ahead. Same thing with the player we're transferring over to Scotland, right? He's done really well for us. And now he's going to go to a bigger, better league. And so good for him. And it's up to us to replace these guys. And so that's good for the players, right? We do right by them, but it's also proof of concept. So now when you've got younger players looking to go into the USL Championship who want to get moved on, they're going to be looking at Rhode Island because they know, okay, number one, there's a pathway there. Number two, they're not going to stand in my way when the opportunity comes. So those are important things for players, for agents. It creates relationships for us. Right now, we've got a relationship with FC Dallas. So if we're looking to maybe get a loaned player, like these all types of things, soccer is such a small world. These relationships are important for us. We've got 2 players on loan right now from MLS, and those loan players are important for USL Championship teams because usually it's a free loan. So we're not paying any of the salary. The MLS club continues to pay the salary. We just provide playing time and housing. And so a player like that is important for us, when we're on smaller budgets.
And I believe one of those was Eric Kleins came over from New England, and that's a part of this discussion too. You mentioned consistency, and I guess that'll be my open door to mentoring these days. When you always have the students and the student athletes, they want to make that big first impression, and they want to come out like gangbusters because it's like, hey, I'm in a new place, and I really want to make sure that they understand that that I thank them for their investment and that they value me as they do. But consistency is the other part of this. Yeah, you can come out of here, and you can be just gangbusters, but it's the idea of being straight line and not being up, down, up, down, up, down when you're in your new environment. Do you get to have these conversations about just kind of maintaining a consistency and not getting too high, too low emotionally, not coming out of the blocks and overextending yourself when it comes to physical and soccer nature on the field? Do you get to have those kind of discussions?
Oh, for sure. It's one of my favorite things to talk about is the emotional control aspect of things, and, emotional control within a game, but also within a season, and understanding, right, that those small peaks and valleys are needed and necessary, but the abrupt ones when we're way high and way low, it's very difficult to find consistency when we're going through these kind of trials and tribulations there. So for sure, it's one of the big things that I like to talk about because it was such a skill for me throughout my career. Right? I was pretty level-headed and could bounce back pretty quickly. Didn't get too high, didn't get too low. And like everything, it's fine measures, because I do tell mentees, hey, when you score a goal, go enjoy it. Whether you scored it or your teammate scored it, go celebrate it. Yeah, absolutely. Be happy. Enjoy the little things for sure. But how quickly can we come back and refocus and make sure that we're ready for the next play and the next game? So yeah, I love talking about that. It's such a key component to consistency and success.
Well, and then when you mentioned, the ups and the downs, were you up, down, up, down, up, down, or were you always just kind of, okay, I'm level here, or were you early on the up, down kind of thing where it's, peaks and valleys?
No, throughout my career, I've always been more consistent with the shallower ups and downs.
Okay.
I think we're all going to have ups and downs, right? But we just want them relatively shallow, so not too far away from the baseline. That was always been a skill of mine, and I had worked with a mental performance professional at IMG in high school, and that was one of the things that he preached about. And so I learned it at a pretty younger age, and it was definitely a skill set for me throughout my career.
Mental performance professional. Hang on. So I have to write this down so I get my phrasing right when I continue to ask you these questions. So when you're having these kinds of discussions with a mental performance professional, and I mean, Jack Llewellyn was one of those, and we called him a sports psychologist, and for the professionals. And Jack was tied to the Atlanta Braves in their glory years, with all the pitching staff and everything. And he branched out and he would do kickers and other sports and things like that. One of the football players that he was attached to was a kicker, Al Del Greco. And Al was Tennessee and Auburn, all this kind of stuff. He played for the Titans, was a legend for them. When Al was having problems, he would go and talk to Dr. Jack. Dr. Jack would give him a keyword to have him lock back in and focus if he was kind of wandering and things weren't going well. Because Al was a scratch golfer, Dr. Jack gave him the word birdie. And so Al thought about birdies when he would go back out onto the football field to kick a long field goal or an extra point, just to gain that consistency back and come back to center. When you were having these conversations, when you're trying to maintain your baseline, were you given these kinds of conversations and keywords to try to remember, okay, this is what it means, this is what I've got to dial back to get to center if you started to stray?
Back in the day, no, I was not. But it's something that Greg and I use. Right? We do help mentees come up with either a phrase or even an action, right, on the field where something doesn't go your way, right? You dribble out of bounds, you shoot and it goes way wide or whatever, right? Can you, whatever it might be, right? Touch grass, kick grass, pinch yourself, do something to like, okay, hey, acknowledge that, but then let it go. Right. And it's the part of like kind of letting it go. I think the one thing that I like about what you just said, as far as it's something completely different, is it takes your mind somewhere else, right? So that you can kind of get it back on autopilot, right? Because I think sometimes when we're stressing too much and we're thinking about every little touch or every kick of a football, right, then we're getting away from the autopilot. And sometimes when we're on autopilot, that's when we're best, because we're just relying on all the training that we've been doing. We know how to kick and trap a soccer ball, right? We don't have to think about those things. When we start thinking about it, that's when we take bad touches, actually, and when things don't go our way. So I do kind of like that, actually, his word brought his mind away from the actual sport that he was playing to something else, because it takes your mind off of that. I like that.
Yeah, where it was a hobby or something else that was that you enjoyed, and then you sit there and it's like, oh yeah, I remember what that was like, and that mindset and that kind of carriage. It's like, okay, yeah, to get a birdie, I had to do this, and this, and it was that final act of, okay, it's a 45-yard field goal, time's running out, I know what I've got to do, I think birdie. And so the mindset to lock you in to kick that game-winning field goal, that's where it was coming from. So I was just curious if you got those same kind of keyword discussions or things like that. But I like that you and Greg are having those kinds of thought patterns with your mentees about having to find ways to have them dialed back to center so they don't spray and they don't sit there and wander mentally and continue the negative things that can snowball just as easily.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that having something to go to is easier and better than trying to help them or trying to tell them, hey, don't have a negative reaction, just let things go, right? Because it's so much easier said than done, right? Of course, we're going to have frustrations on the field when things don't go our way. That's normal. We have frustrations in life when things don't go our way with technology or whatever we're doing, right? So, you can be frustrated about how quickly can you regain the focus. And that's just helping the young athletes do that.
Well, and and when you're telling a young student athlete, if they're having issues, hey, don't do this, then it adds that extra layer.
Totally.
Thinking it's like, oh, he's telling me not to do something. Obviously, I've been doing something wrong. I know I've been doing something wrong. And now he's telling me not to continue to do it, instead of rolling over and focusing on something that'll dial me back in. He's given me something else that's going to sit there and have me smash against the guardrail all over again. And it's trying to find ways to remind them, yeah, you can go back to center by doing it this way. And it's the reinforcement of that I think is key, because, if you're telling somebody who's already kicking themselves, hey, don't kick yourself, you're like, well, what am I doing here?
It's a pet peeve of mine when I hear coaches, because I'm around softball and baseball a lot. And one thing that happens sometimes, like a pitcher is up, 0-2 on a count, and now all of a sudden it's 3-2, and parents or coaches, don't lose it, don't lose her, don't lose them. And you're like, the kid's not trying to walk the player, right? Saying don't do that is not helpful at all, because all the players is like now focused on is like, oh shoot, I might lose her or I might lose him. Same thing in soccer when we were playing possession drills and somebody's out there yelling, don't lose it. No kidding. No kidding. That's the purpose, literally the purpose of our drill, is to not lose the ball. I got that part. I'm not trying to lose it. It's not helpful at all.
and I know that you were this close to sit there and using a different word when you said kidding, because there was a beat. You were like, well, no ish, How difficult is it for you and Greg to include, and I know we have this conversation fairly consistently, but I think it's important. You mentioned parents and coaches, other coaches. How important is it to consistently remind your mentees about all of these external factors and trying to have them do their best, not take it too personally, even though those people are very personal to us? It's like they might mean well, but they're kind of off the page and all this kind of stuff. How many conversations do you have either with a parent to tell them to lay off, or with a mentee to sit there and it's like, yeah, they mean well, but let's go this way with our conversation?
Yeah, a lot. And it's because there is so much negativity out there sometimes, or just not all of it is meant to be negative or coming from a bad place. It's just misdelivered or miscoached or whatever. I've got a mentee at an MLS Next program that's with an MLS team, and his coach is really hard on him. And so much so that he literally probably thinks he's an a-hole, which probably is, it could be right.
There probably are some ingredients to the a-hole stew that,
Yeah, and it's a goalkeeper coach and a goalkeeper. So I'm like, it's probably even more likely. So
not while I'm drinking.
So, I try and work with him to try and say, hey, take the information, not the attitude, right? Take the information, not the tone, not how it's delivered, what's delivered, right? Because, just because someone is not delivering it well doesn't mean it's not good information, right? My high school coach was super tough on players at IMG, really hard, really ruined soccer for probably a lot of players because he was could be a jerk and was tough. But if you could get past that, he taught us so much. He had such a good soccer brain. I learned so much from him, and he was a great coach for me. But if you couldn't get past the attitude sometimes and the delivery, it's tough to take the information in. So really, it's just trying to separate those two things sometimes.
How hard is that, though, for someone who's between the ages of 15 and 18 with everything else going on in their brain right now?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult because sometimes it's just triggering, right? And so when something's triggering, it's difficult to ignore one aspect of it while trying to take in the other aspect of it. A lot of players and people can't do it, right? They feel disrespected, they feel embarrassed. If a coach is yelling at them, right? It's difficult. It's I think one of the reasons why we didn't watch a ton of video post game with Tata, because I think that he was concerned with calling out guys in front of the team. I think I've mentioned this before. So we didn't watch a lot of video post game to learn from games, which I thought is very valuable. I thought was one thing that Greg Berhalter and Josh Wolf at Columbus did really well. And we learned a lot from watching our games. But within that, you're going to get called out and you're going to see things that you're not proud of on video but we've all been there. That doesn't mean we can all take it and we can all understand it and push past it. So it's difficult for pros. So anything that's difficult for pros, it's like, it's magnified for teenagers.
So then if you see a teenager / mentee being weighed down by a-hole, and I mean, how you mentioned pushing through and just trying to listen to the message, but it's just for me, that's got to be one of the hardest walls to break through, because if you're 15 to 18, 14 to 18, whatever, and that first message, the first person through the door is sitting there and finger pointing and a-holing and doing this, that's going to stick with you. And the people that come in behind in the batting order that are trying to tell you, hey, focus on the message, not the messenger. It's got to make it that much tougher for those that come in behind to try to steer you back, considering that first message is straight up a hairdryer and negative and just raging at you. That's got to make it that much more tough, I would think.
Yeah, it does. And I've been in locker rooms where there's been tough coaches, and it's kind of unifying for the players, because now the players bond together with kind of like an FU attitude towards the coach, like F this guy.
Yeah.
Right. And it brings us together as a group. So it can be a motivating factor if you've got a small group or a bigger group together unified with this. Right. So if I was talking to this player, do the other goalkeepers feel the same way? Can you guys bond over this? Can you complain about it and be about it together, to relieve it and get it out of your system. And that way, when you're on the field, can you go out there and work hard? And I also had the tough conversation this offseason of like, hey, if you're not enjoying yourself and you don't find fun in it, then that's the time where, hey, we have to decide, is it worth it? Right? Is it worth it being in this environment, even though you're in one of the top environments in the country? If you're not having fun, you're not enjoying it, I don't care what environment you're in, you got to go. You got to change it up and you got to find something different.
How many mentees these days are facing that decision, or are they happy in their environments and willing to work through all of the noise and all of the a-hole?
Yeah, there's a bunch that go through it. And I think going through a period is different than did you just go through a whole season where it was really tough and you miserable and you weren't enjoying it and that type of thing? And why is it that you're not enjoying? Is it just because you're not starting, or is it because your coach is continually putting you down and it's a negative environment, that type of thing? Right. Because I agree, John, especially in college soccer right now, in college sports, not just soccer, that sometimes it's, I'm not having immediate success as a freshman. Let me transfer. Let me go find a better place.
Yep.
Meanwhile, that better place might be just right in front of you. You just need to work a little harder for that opportunity and stick it out. And that's a tough conversation as well.
Carlos Mauricio Ramirez hanging out with us in the next 5 minutes. He'll start hour number 2. So he will be our hydration break. He will start with our hydration break coming up at 10 o'clock Eastern. And now that he's on this coast, wrapping up with Michael Parkhurst here and the Friday Free Kick. I would be remiss if I didn't get to talk to you about Atlanta United, as I have noticed you on the media that is social, and you've been watching matches. They've won 2 in a row. And I think that we have now figured out that when we're talking about one of the 6s, that you have the good side and the bad side. So when you're talking about Tristan, that's the good side. say Tristan did this, Tristan and Muyamba did that. So it's like, yeah, Parkhurst screwed up. Yeah, Mike Parkey did great. Parkhurst, we don't. So we're focusing on the Tristan side of things right now, where he's scoring with both feet.
Mm-hmm.
And the Muyamba side, the defensive six, we're leaving the guys like Adrian Gill who step in, and he's doing pretty well coming out of the blocks. But what's it been like seeing Atlanta United these last couple of matches for you?
Yeah, it's great. Just to show some fight and get back into it.
You as a defender sitting there looking at all those defensive actions from the back four.
Yeah, I mean, it helps when the goalkeeper makes big saves, right? I mean, he made some big saves, and one of the goals was directly from a good play from him straight down the other field, and now he score. So yeah, that's always helpful, and that hasn't always been the case this year, where you get in the big saves that kind of change games sometimes. But yeah, guys are just making a few more plays, which is nice. And yeah, Tristan has always been that player for Atlanta United, which has been so frustrating, where you can see like he's capable of these things. He's capable of scoring goals, of doing things in midfield. But he just has been so inconsistent with it. And I've been rough on him personally, of like, hey, I think I've called him a coach killer in the past, where it's like, wow, you keep playing him because you see that talent and that possibility, but not often enough does he actually show it on the field, and you're getting these negative performances, and it's costing the team. But hopefully that's in the past, because he has been more consistent lately, and he has been, one of the guys that stepped up in this tough time, which has been impressive, and kudos to him, because he's, obviously scoring goals and putting the team on his back a little bit right now, which is impressive.
And in the 4-2-3-1 with those two sixes, I think that we have noticed over time that the offensive-minded Tristan, as I said, the offensive-minded Tristan, not the offensive-minded Muyamba, the offensive-minded Tristan, he likes to go forward and engage, which means that you need to have that yang to his yin. And seeing that with Adrian Gill staying at home, or seeing it with Cooper staying at home, or Will Riley, and giving Tristan that chance to be the offensive-minded Tristan, I think that has helped out there with those two sixes that are back there. Yeah,
I agree. I completely agree. He needs a little bit of support in there, and that's not surprising. I consider him more of an 8. Most 8s do. But that's the challenge sometimes when you got 3 in the midfield, is like, hey, do you play 1 6 and 2 attacking? Do you play 2 6s and 1 attacking? He's not really a 10. So, it's just a little bit challenging. How do you find that? But it seems like they are finding that balance. And yeah, Gil's been great in his short time there, which is really probably coincided with Atlanta playing better. If you can add a striker to this group, you never know. Hey, they could sneak into the playoffs.
I mean, they're 6 points back, and you get a good week and you're pushing that stuff. What's going on with Beyond Goals these days?
Beyond Goals, we're starting our stuff up with Inter Atlanta, which is great. Working with them again this season. So excited about that, getting that off the road. Starting up the Master of the Pitch series again, which is our kind of virtual program where we kind of dissect different positions with players and look at video stuff. So setting that up for wingers, which is exciting, which is Sunday night. I didn't realize Atlanta United played on Sunday night this weekend.
11 o'clock, Sunday night soccer.
I know. Things at 8 o'clock. Bad timing, John. It's just amateur hour over here.
Well, but Mogul and training gets to keep things going on Saturdays, and kind of crushing it from there, and we get to do our thing. But it's always very, very cool. So epic as always, and it's always great to see you, my friend. And we will catch up with you soon. Is Deacon pretty much over the whole thing?
Yeah. You know it. You know where she is, John.
Yeah, Deacon's just like, yeah, can you stop talking?
She loves the talking. It's when I stop talking, or she knows when I say goodbye. Yeah. She kind of like is it time to go?
Well, in this case, the answer is yes. So yes. Have fun with Deacon. Enjoy the game with Monterey Bay this weekend, and we'll catch up with you soon, my friend. It's always great to catch up and find out what's going on with Beyond Goals.
Likewise. Thanks, John. Have a great weekend.
There he goes. That's Parky. And so he's going to go focus on being a mogul in training. All right. So it is now pushing 10 o'clock. I'm going to hit this light a little early. Last time we caught it with CMR, he was in a hotel room. that was probably closer to San Francisco than Levi's Stadium. And it's great to see you, my friend. Thanks for dropping back by the morning show. You're on the East Coast, so this way I'm not bugging you at like 6:30 in the morning.
Well, first of all, you're not bugging. You never bug me, ever. No matter the time, you never bug me, John. Thank you. I love being here on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Don't ever say that again, because it makes me feel bad and sad and depressed, and I don't want to feel on a Friday ever, but especially on a Friday. Now that I've moved cross country to Florida, so we're on the same time zone, which is convenient.
We always like to wrap our time with Michael Parkhurst with his golden retriever Deacon, and Deacon just likes to basically lay on the floor and listen to Michael and go, "Are we done yet? Where's my treat?" And Deacon just kind of sleeps through the whole segment. I have been told that with your move from the left coast to the East Coast, that you had a co-pilot / guardian make the trip with you. Is this accurate?
I did. That's 100. Your sources are correct. I have my dog Benito, who could have been or not. I can't confirm. Named after a very famous reggaeton singer. With Bad Bunny.
Okay.
May have happened. It may have happened.
Okay.
It took me 5 days to get from San Jose to Miami, Florida, with stops in Phoenix, Fort Stockton that I didn't even know existed in Texas, to then Houston, later to a place I also did not know was part of our planet, called Chipley, Florida, in the Panhandle.
Absolutely.
An hour from Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And then from Chipley all the way down through 75 to Miami, Florida. That was the 5-day, 10 to 11 hour average driving time a day road trip from San Jose, from PayPal Park to New Stadium.
Wow. So how many times did you have to stop to have Benito take care of business?
Oh, I lost track. I stopped counting when I was having lunch with Benito, when I stopped at El Paso for Chipotle, and I set up his plate next to me, and we were having, because it was pouring rain in El Paso. So he's chowing down on his plate. I'm also mowing down my Chipotle bowl. I said, I just got to stop. Whatever happens, happens. And if there's a stomach incident here for both of us, then so be it. I'm not going to count, but they were many. And of course, Murphy's Law. I stayed at a great friend's house and his wife and daughter in Houston. And I'm bragging about my dog, how well behaved he is, how he never does, which is true. He's a great dog. He never does anything. Cut to, he took a poop and a number 1 in the front door.
10-300 on the front door.
Yeah. So that's Benito in a nutshell.
Oh man. And I've done the cross country drive myself, and it took me 4 days to go from LA to Atlanta.
Wow. Okay, you're pushing it.
Well, yeah, because it was me, and I was taking my dad's car from LA here to Atlanta. So I left late in the afternoon, LA traffic, stopped in Flagstaff for the night.
Okay.
Got the only hotel room available because I'd forgotten that Flagstaff was the jumping off point for everybody in their trailers to go to the Grand Canyon.
Right.
The hotel that I stopped at had one room. It was a smoking room.
Oh, no.
And it was hideous. And I took it because it was like late at night. And I'm like, dude, I've just got to stop. So then day 2 was Flagstaff to Lubbock, and then stayed in Lubbock and was there for that night, watched some independent baseball. So that was the second night. Then went Lubbock to Conway, Arkansas, and got to stop in Oklahoma City and did some stuff in Oklahoma City on the way through there. And then Conway, Arkansas, just shy of Little Rock, and then Conway to Atlanta was day 4. So that was, so yeah, I was driving my dad's car back from Southern California to here, and so that was my tour. So I know of which
that's kind of what I did. I did that because I was driving my ex-wife's car, because we moved, even though we're separated, we moved together with her kids from California to Florida. So she flew with the girls and her mom, and I drove her car with the dog. So
I can relate. You have have Orlando and RSL this weekend.
I do.
And it's really cool. And this is your first English language play-by-play assignment for Apple, yeah?
For MLS, yes.
For MLS, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
Great. Really good. I mean, first of all, thankful. That's the first feeling that I have. Is it's a sense. It's a mix of gratitude and thankfulness for Christian Bredes Lafremina, who's my boss at MLS, and for Kirk Reynolds, and for everyone who has deemed me good enough to do this in English, which I've done in the past for Telemundo. I've done Chivas games in English. I've done 49ers games in English. For you might be asking why he's talking about it. Well, Spanish is my first tongue, my native tongue,
right.
But I'm perfectly bilingual, as you can hear.
Mm-hmm.
But I was hired by MLS to do games in Spanish, them knowing that I can do stuff in English, because over the past 4.5 years, I did work for NBC Sports Bay Area as their main English host for 49er content, also for the Giants and the A's. So I hoped it was just a matter of time and the right game or the right circumstance or the right set of situations to combine themselves for me to get this opportunity. And I couldn't be happier. It's in Orlando. It's a great game. I get to call the game with Laura Lindsay, who is amazing. The two guys calling the game in Spanish were French. They're also from Venezuela, born and raised. So, and I also feel a responsibility to other bilingual broadcasters to prove that we can do this, right? It's not very common, John, as you know, for a Spanish-speaking broadcaster to get the chance to do this in English in any window, whether it's hosting or play-by-play or anything. So I feel a sense of spearheading this initiative or this kind of window and opportunity for the other colleagues like myself who speak 2 languages or more, who want to do this in different platforms.
Brian Dunseth in the bullpen. He'll be joining us here in a couple of minutes. It'll be fun to catch up.
Dunny?
Yeah, Dunny. I mean, I can punch him in if you want.
Yeah, get him in. I love Dunny.
All right, so we'll punch Dunny in early, and we'll bring Dunny.
Yeah, look at this guy. I have to see his face plastered around Salt Lake City, his beautiful face for the Thursday radio show, and talking about RSL. Hey, Dunny.
What's up, guys? How are you?
What's up,
I didn't even get connected. I was going to put my headsets on.
No.
What's going on, guys?
Why is it so freaking hot in Salt Lake? I was melting the other day, buddy.
I'm going to give you a little, geography lesson.
Hot.
This is the high desert. So when we get in the summer, you're like at 100, 110. People forget, like, we're 4,900-ish feet. So, yeah, man, it gets super hot, super cold.
It was warm in there inside the booth. It was horrible the other day.
I mean, there's an air conditioning and there's a window. I mean, we've got options.
But
it's kind of like back in the 80s. We just roll that window down. There's no AC. It's just air. Like we go back. We actually used the key to turn the car on. Like that's what you're spoiled, man. Carlos, you're getting spoiled out here with technology.
Look, to this day, first impulse for me is to roll down the window, and if not roll down the passenger window when I'm on the interstate.
Yep.
Because one of my first cars was a Dodge Aries K midsize station wagon.
Okay.
And it was awful.
So just to give you a sense, John, of what I went through on Wednesday, and for those of you who haven't been on American First Field, the booth doesn't have glass. You have to lift the gate.
Yep.
You have to pull the gate. It's a gate. So you have to pull it up to watch the game. So it's a yin and yang situation. I have the AC blowing my head off from the backside, and I have the heat compressing my face towards the AC.
Oh, you've got a thunderstorm going on.
Cold, warm. So
you've gone soft, my man. You're getting soft in your old age. Holy moly!
Wow. I was just waiting for the thunderstorm to happen right in front when the stuff's coming in from the window and the stuff's hitting you from behind. There's a thunderstorm that happens. So Dunny, with CMR calling RSL and Orlando, I know that he has done his own bit of research with the Purple team and the team that is there in your hometown. What piece of information do you think is not on his study sheet that he would like to have for the broadcast coming up?
I would go with maybe what's missing. I was pretty adamant that there was a lack of athleticism in the midfield, and I think right now at this stage of the season, the loss of Emeka Eneli, with Griffin Dillon busting his 5th metatarsal in the dying moments of that game out in St. Louis, all of a sudden they're super light in that midfield, and I think based on substitution pattern, there's concern with Stein Spearing's inability to play the full 90 consistently. I think Caliskin's a worker bee. He's a piano carrier. The biggest threat defensively for me has been that right-hand side, even when Gozo was there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a Quentin issue, a DeAndre Yedlin issue, a Marchuk issue, now losing Zach Booth a couple of nights ago. But that right-hand side has always concerned me. They're soft on set pieces and corners. I think that Pablo's talked about that enough. And I guess I would equate this to a Andres Gomez Chicho departure, that we can talk about the caliber of player. We could talk about what Gozo and his kind of elite, sprint to recovery ratio and all those things that come into play. But I think there creates a power vacuum inside of that locker room, whether that's the ability to step on the field or it's kind of a leadership / culture. Because when you kind of replace these guys, they're all different parts of the puzzle. But that was a pretty tight puzzle. And to get through Leagues Cup and to play Tuesday night in Denver against Leon, the RSL had to be the biggest surprise in that top 4 finisher in the Leagues Cup for MLS. So I could see this game as one of those where Pablo's like, man, do I sacrifice maybe another spot in the Western Conference where we're in 4th position and now all of a sudden we're starting to plummet a little bit? Or do I try to get the momentum back on our side, which is always going to be difficult with 3 games in 7 days?
CMR, did that help you out?
Yeah, I did. I mean, and I agree with what Dunny said. I think Pablo Ruiz being back gives him some muscle there, but not enough. Not enough pace. I mean, he's more of a game manager with through balls. He finds the pocket. He had a great pocket ball in that game against Dallas over Wednesday. Should have been a goal. But yeah, there's not enough muscle there to go head to head with many teams. I agree with that. And the other issue I think they have is, and you can see with the Juarez game, I don't think Pablo trusts Olatunji as a backup 9 behind Solans. He put Gilavogi in that game as a backup 9. He was a starting 9 for that game. So if anything, if he gets a cold, if anything happens to Sergi Solans, I don't know what the backup plan. They don't have another 9.
Well, Olatunji, and that's Ari Peel busting his Achilles kill. I mean, that shows you, like, people forget Victor. He had 8 Champions League goals. I mean, this isn't some, like, you're not taking a flyer. Victor's proven at Sparta Prague that he was more than capable of scoring Champions League goals. But it's weird because it's that weird line of, like, I rub my fingers together, like the psychology, like the tactics between the ears, and then like just the physical reaction. And Olatunji, this is the wildest part about this season. You go back to the beginning, Olatunji takes a ball off the eye, almost loses his eye. Match day -2 before their first game at Vancouver. Then all of a sudden, Piol goes down with the Achilles. All of a sudden, Sergi Solans, who was probably looking at a hybrid of like Monarchs minutes and Real Salt Lake minutes, is the man. And he's been incredible. Him and Luna and Gozo, there's just constant like urgency between those 3. I can't figure out Gilavogi. He's kind of like, to me, like Matt Crooks was before Crooksy left RSL and went back to Hull City, where he's just one of those guys that's like, he's just the pass before the pass that kind of leads to something. But yeah, I agree with you. Right now, I could see a world in which if we're being transparent and honest and a fly on the wall in those conversations, I think RSL needs probably 3 players. They need someone to help with Justin Glad's injury, because Arias went from 0 games to 5 in 6 months without playing. It feels like Quentin is always, there's like one moment where you're like, oh, I wish you would have done a little bit better. We already talked about the physicality and maybe like the player profile in the midfield. And I think they need a little bit more competition up top. And on top of that, RSL has a history of selling their best players in the summer. Whether you talk about Jefferson Savarino, you talk about what happened with Andres Gomez. Now there's no Chicho. Now there's, like Anderson, Julio. Like RSL fans are getting a little bit nervous, especially because now Miller Sports Entertainment Group and their history with the Jazz. It's going to be interesting to see how they reinvest.
Yeah.
Because this payday for Gozo, 15 plus 20% on the backside is great for the academy. You're going to recoup a lot of money, but does that just go into the overall budget of what's necessary for capital calls, or can that go straight back into the squad?
No doubt. Carlos Mauricio Ramirez gets Orlando and RSL, the purple team, and Lori Lindsay and CMR. You realize, of course, sir, you are not a stranger here. You know the keys to the kingdom. You got the garage door opener. So anytime on a Friday, you can come in and crash, yeah?
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, Dunny.
And glad that you are on this side. And for a minute there, I thought you were going to say that you named your dog after a famous San Diego Padres catcher.
No, Benito Santiago. No, after Bad Bunny, which is, by the way, Dunny's favorite singer also. Bad Bunny.
That's a conversation for a walk back in Seattle from the stadium to the hotel.
Dude, we got space. If you guys want to crash anytime and have that kind of conversation, Carlos, have a hell of a call this weekend. Great to see you, my friend. Do not be a stranger, and we'll catch up with you soon, eh?
Thank you, guys. Thank you both for the time. And Dunny, love seeing you, buddy. Just heads up, don't be surprised if we see more 4-2-3-1s from RSL. The way he finished the game against Dallas, I wouldn't be shocked if we see more Saba, Guilabogi, and Diego behind Solans. I don't know if this is the game to do that, but maybe in the future we might see some moving pieces around for Pablo. We'll see what happens.
Excellent. CMR, good to see you, my friend. We'll see you soon.
See you, buddy.
There he goes, Carlos Mauricio Ramirez. And now, Dunny, I think this is actually your debut on the morning show.
Yeah,
this time.
I'm excited, man. I'm very, very thankful for the offer to join you, my man.
Well, I mean, as I told CMR, it's like, look, you now know where the garage door opener is. You've got the key under the mat. So literally on a Friday, and Kirk Morrison with the league, and it's just like, look, whoever wants to come in and crash can crash. If somebody comes in, they can come in. It's a party. We're getting set for the weekend. It's all good. So
love it.
If you're bored out of your mind on a Friday morning and Rennie's getting on your nerves, just sit there and go, look, dude, I'm out. I'm taking a break. I'm calling, I'm calling a 30. I'll be back.
I literally just got done making protein waffles for my teenagers, and or actually all three boys. And my third grader just walked out the door before I jumped in. My two older boys I don't know what they're doing. They've got late start on Friday. So those two knuckleheads are doing. So this is kind of like the perfect break from like waking up and trying to get my kids off to school versus, just sitting around and watching YouTube. So yeah, I appreciate the offer.
Anytime. It is an open door policy. Since we were talking RSL, let me give you a Saba Lobjanidze question since we're based here in Atlanta. Obviously, you've gotten the early returns on somebody that likes to point at the watch. What have your early returns been on Saba time so far?
Yeah, by the way, the point to the watch will always remind me of Clint Mathis over in Germany when he came on and he's just like hit a banger and he's like, yeah, I told you I should have played. I love Cletus. Stone Mountain, by the way. Yeah, listen, I've always enjoyed Saba. I really have. Like, I've always felt like, and I don't know if it was like a competition conversation, if it was like a managerial kind of like philosophical tactics. But the one thing that I was surprised at when RSL completed that move was that he was available. But I understand this evolution for Tata and trying to put into place what he wants to do and his guys versus somebody else's guys. That's just, we all know that as players, the moment that somebody else pops in, you're either going to have a huge opportunity or you're going to be sidelined very quickly. Saba, when he got here, one of the conversations that I found myself listening to was, we think he could kind of play in that number 10 position, that pocket position. And it really caught me off guard. I wasn't prepared for it. Not that he's not capable of it, but because in my mind, his incessant work rate, and this becomes kind of the genius in the moment of this move, is that I truly believe that he's the only one within this group that has the similar physical qualities that what Gozo brought to the field. And I'm not saying they're like for like, but I'm saying he's like the first guy that's in that kind of like, I can stretch the field. I can get wide. I like to isolate. You want a quick little combination, I'll lay the ball off, and I'm going to burn my tail off to get in behind these guys. Like, I can be a little bit tricky. Like, I'm okay with like trying to shift and trying to create for myself, or early ball versus end line ball, cutback ball, face. So I want to see more of him, but I understand too, with Guy Lavogui coming back fully fit and coming off that unnecessary red on the road at Portland. Luna's the only one that you feel like there's this constant sense of urgency, trying to get on the ball, trying to create something out of nothing. I think Saba's been a solid addition. And I think games like this in Orlando is going to be his chance to prove to the coaching staff that he deserves to be a starter, especially with the space vacated by Gozo. But on top of that, he's got to be a leader amongst men. And we all know that when you get your chance, you can either look at it as a punishment based on who's in that starting 11 alongside of you, or you look at it as a reward and say, okay, I've been chomping at the bit. I've been training really well. This is what I want to do. But it sounds like, and again, this is like, culture, that the locker room appreciates his personality, appreciates his skill set, and he's been looked at as a good addition at this stage of the season.
And I think that with Saba here, when there was that time under Gonzalo Pineda where you had all the injuries and you're trying to navigate through all of this, Saba was the guy.
Yeah.
And you had everything funneling to him. And then there's the pressure that's attached to being the guy.
Yeah.
And then when everybody gets healthy, you are a guy. You're not the guy, but you still have that pressure that's attached to you of needing to feel like you need to continue to produce at that rate.
Yeah.
And I think that weighed on him. And you could tell that there were times where he was pressing and things weren't going. It's like, and it's easier said than done, tranquilo.
Yeah.
But with Saba, it seemed like he was trying too hard at times. And I think that a fresh start was probably.
Yeah. And I'm of the belief, and maybe this is just purely because of my playing career and now, watching my kids go through the soccer system. I've got a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and an 8-year-old. I really do believe that having a different voice and having a new city and a new club and all of those things, there's something to be said about those lifers, right? There's only a few Kobe Jones or Duncan Outons or Benny Olsons that are, the one club that they've played with forever. But I like the idea of a new interpretation, different formations, different non-negotiables, but within all of this, there was times where I found myself watching Atlanta United and very similar, thinking, well, what's Saba's role in this? Like, okay, you brought Almiron in, you've got Miranchuk, like who's going to play wide? Like what are you trying? Are you just putting a bunch of good players on the field at the same time? Is there really passing patterns and structures and ideas breaking down? Are you good enough to break down the opponent? Are you better against a back three, hybrid five, or flat four? Are you possession based? Do you just play for transition moments? I never felt like there was that consistency of an identity with Atlanta United in these last couple of years because of so much change and the roster being spliced and who's the GM, who's the sporting director, who's the director of, like all those weird, I don't know, labels that we're seeing now that give somebody more of a presence than some other team. It's odd to me, but yeah, he's a good, I think at this stage, he's a very good piece to a puzzle. You don't want to rely on him as solely a focal point.
Right. I know that I'm about to get in trouble because I have about 19 gazillion topics for you. When do you turn into a pumpkin?
How about I could probably go, let's see, good 20, 25 minutes with you.
Okay. So we'll take you to a quarter till, and if you need a note to get into class, just let me know.
Awesome.
Okay, so here are my topics, and we can go whatever direction you want. I have a National Soccer Hall of Fame question for you.
Okay.
I have obviously the LAFC question for you because you and fellow Florida State University alum Max Bretos are doing LAFC and LAFC. It's like it's like Mary Hartman. It's LAFC.
Yeah.
I got Leagues Cup we got to talk about, and you got into that with RSL a little bit. And then considering you were part of host broadcast with the cup that the world was chasing, I wanted to find out where you think MLS is right now as a league when it comes to top 12, because we think that really Jason and I were having this talk the other day. MLS could be number 5, number 6 in the world right now. Everybody's sitting there thinking number 12 because 5 to 12, I think, is a tight group. What it would take to get to 5. So, dealer's choice. Where do you want to go?
Let's go top of the list. Let's start at the very top.
All right, National Soccer Hall of Fame question.
Yeah.
Why in the hell is Clive Charles already not in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, man, you went with the nuclear bomb right off the top. Okay. Well, for clarity's sake, Clive Charles was my Olympic team coach in 2000. He was the assistant coach for Steve Sampson in 98. Don't let that spoil this conversation. He was the first black player to play for West Ham, or one of the first black players to play for West Ham before going over to Portland and being a Portland Timber. He's in the Portland Timber, I don't know what they call it, ring of whatever. His name is in the stadium up at Providence Park. And he's got a couple placards around the stadium. You know, University of Portland and everything they did on the men's and women's side. And I was his captain in 2000, just so I can lay this as the foundation of why I'm so adamant about this subject. And my son, my middle boy, is named Micah Clive.
Yep.
So this was, he and Rocky Ray Hudson are the two most iconic coaches that had the biggest influence on my life as a player. And Ray's amazing, obviously, because he's Rocky. But Clive was a father figure, and and this is the craziest part, this is the biggest compliment I can give Clive. I've never heard a single soul say a bad thing about him. Not a single soul. I mean, even if you despised him, you couldn't say a bad thing about him, because that was more on you than it was on him. The fact that whatever capacity to put him into this voting process, whether it's as a coach, as an influencer amongst men and women, or it's a builder category, whatever you got to do, it's a tragedy that he's not in the National Soccer Hall of Fame. And I have been a part of, I can remember Aiden Brown, who's currently the goalkeeper coach in San Jose for Bruce Arena. You know, he kept hitting me up and trying to put together some type of behind the scenes momentum just to get him front and center. So again, I'm not privy to the voting process or how this calculated formula gets put in play for people to be put on the ballot in whatever capacity necessary. But it is absolutely a tragedy that he hasn't been acknowledged the way that he needs to be acknowledged, because you could put a poll out there publicly on whatever platform you need to find for former players of where Clive ranks in their top 3 influential on and off the field. And I guarantee you, nobody's saying number 2. Everybody's saying number 1.
And he's in the semifinals list again this year. And there's 10 names. Literally, there are 10 names that are in this eligibility section. And you look at that list and you're like, yeah, I could see easily 6 of the 10 getting in. And apparently it's only supposed to be 2. And I'm like, it seems flawed to me that you're only allowing that many in on any kind of a voting structure. But they're all seeming worthy. And the fact that Clive has been a part of this list for entirely too long, I've been somewhat rankled. And that's the word that I'll use early in the morning.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good word. Listen, man, he is... and again, I've talked about this on a few different occasions with people that are interested in his legacy. And it is, again, if you had the opportunity to ever be around him, both on the field or off the field. I mean, I'll give you a great quick story about him. He was, and again, this is a time in which heading into, from 97 to 2000, September of 2000, we were together every month. And it was, it was an incredible laundry list of human beings that were on that team. And whether you're Johnny O'Brien or Josh Wolf or Ben Olsen or Connor Casey or Petey Vinus or, Chad McCarty and myself, Aiden Brown, Timmy Howard. I mean, we had that, and that's just naming a few. Landon was a little knucklehead coming off the bench and showcasing his personality and what his future was going to look like. But we would go to Europe quite often. And one of the games, one of the trips as captain, we decided, because we were back in England, like, let's tease Clive a little bit. And Chris Brown had somehow figured out how to take a picture of Clive, and he had this big afro, and he was playing for West Ham back in the day. And we put him on T-shirts, and everybody got a T-shirt spread out. We're playing Man United at the next day, and at the time it was like John Thornton, Danny Higginbotham, who else? Jonathan Greening, Wes Brown, Phil Neville was in the group, Jordy Cruyff was in the group. Like, it was a pretty good team that we were playing the next day. But we were at the cliff, and we're warming up, and under our jackets, as soon as we look back, Clive turned around, we do like across the field, and we came back. And we've all got the big old Clive fro faces on our chest, and it was just amazing to see his reaction. He's just like, "Oh, you mother!" And he just started, and it was great. We had him wound, and it took him a trip or two to find out who was ultimately responsible, because we vacuum sealed our lips to make sure no one was getting in trouble. But he found out it was me and Brownie, and we paid the price, but it was worth it. It was fun. It was a great time. And he let us be men. Like, we traveled the world, and we knew our responsibility, but at the same time, he understood he wanted us, as important it was to create kind of that fabric of culture and brotherhood and representing the national team, which is just an amazing, amazing feeling anytime you get that call. On top of that, he wanted us to find that maturity of responsibility of, okay, go explore, Sevilla, go explore Amsterdam, go explore Seoul, South Korea. Like, and he wanted us to, enrich ourselves both on the field and off the field. And he was unlike Ray was the only other one that had created that type of culture within the group. And it was obviously a little bit different because Ray was Miami Fusion versus Clive. You kind of parachute in and have this incredible camaraderie. And oftentimes with this last group with the U.S. men's national team, we were kind of weaponizing that conversation about vibes. This was the one thing that Clive really leaned into, was you wanted to create a competition culture on the field, and everyone was fighting for their spot, and you had to prove that you deserved to be there. But at the same time, he trusted you to be an adult, even though we were all, 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old little knuckleheads.
Yeah, and your Cal State Fullertonness is stuck. Where you're stuck with me also as a Titan, because in another life, I would have had I stayed in Southern California, because I was born in Lakewood,
okay,
right on the LA County, Orange County border.
Yeah.
My other life would have been being one of those junk ball left-handed relief pitchers that learned under Augie Garrido.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so, look, I mean, for me, I know about Mike Pringle and the football team.
Okay.
Augie Garrido and the baseball team. That would have been my
Kotze.
Yeah, that would have been my pathway if I had literally they're like, "Well, throw a fastball." I'm like, "No, I'm not going to throw a fastball. I'm not going to do that. You're gonna pound it. That's not going to happen."
You got a little Quisenberry knuckler underneath you?
I had like 13 different pitches. Literally, I would go 3/4. I would go sidearm.
Look what I got.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, and and you get to go either with the seams or against it. You either do 2-seamer or 4-seamer.
Yeah.
It was slider, curve. Let's see, drop. Basically, you line it like this, and it goes like that, and just drops off the table. All those kinds. Splitter, slurve. I got that from Neil Heaton when there's a baseball card pull from the 80s. So yeah, all those things, and I would annoy batters to death. Basically, and I'm sure
it was fun, man. We always joke about, like, when people ask, like, were you ever in a frat or any of that? And I was like, no, I played soccer at Fullerton. That was its own fraternity. Like, it was us and the baseball guys, and it was kind of like us against the frat, I guess, frat row. But no, what an experience. My group was pretty much Joey DiGiorino and I were the two that kind of came out of our class and went pro. But now Sean Higgins is doing an amazing job as one of the best premier agents in the United States. And watching Damian Brown and his coaching career with the women at Fullerton doing such an amazing job. Wish I had a stronger connection with the university, but hey, it was a fun 3 semesters where I didn't have to declare. Well, I had to declare a major. I did not declare a major, but more importantly, I never had study school. So within all of that, my GPA was high enough to constantly avoid the punishment of Big Al and Bob Allen.
10-minute warning with Brian Dunseth on the maiden voyage here on the morning show. Let's get into the MLS-y stuff. What in the wide world of sports happened with LAFC in Colorado?
So rotation, I think. Well, I want to give Mark Dos Santos credit, right? Because there's a lot of it. The moment that he took over for Steve Cherundolo, I was a bit surprised.
Yeah.
If we're being transparent about the wording of the way that both John Thorrington and Mark Dos Santos had decided to inadvertently kind of change course on Cherundolo's tenure, where, you know, that loss in Vancouver, it was like, well, I don't think we need to be as defensive. And I like, at the time I was like, oh, that kind of feels like a weird way to go out when Cherundolo did so much great things and got so far in so many different, you know, whether you're talking about CONCACAF Champions Cup, you're talking about FIFA Club World Cup, you're talking a qualification, beating Club America at home, whether you talk about these MLS Cup finals, you know, Leagues Cup finals, all of these, like they're perennial kind of like championship match finishers. And yeah, they came up short. And listen, LAFC fans are absolutely spoiled because they have an incredible stadium with an incredible environment, with a team on the West Coast that really mimics what Atlanta United and Mr. Arthur Blank were doing. We're, you know, spending money and having the capital and the influence and the commercial relevance to, you know, put butts in seats and win games. So that's the challenge for Mark, is when you say that kind of up close, and then all of a sudden we did the San Diego game, and San Diego was so good with the eyeball test and the possession with purpose and creativity that 32-52 and the fans inside BMO were getting pretty frustrated with how deep LAFC was sitting. And I don't think that was by design. I think that was by San Diego's ability. And they had chances in transition, and San Diego's a transition team, right? They're fine, you know, Porteous, big switch to Denny Bouanga, Delgado cutting ball to Sonny, split the line, see if you get David Martinez in transitional, all these things. So they lose the game against San Diego. They go to Colorado. The changes are significant. I mean, Schaffelberg, Boyd, and Abobasi are the three players starting. That looks and feels completely different than Sonny and Denny and David Martinez.
Yeah.
They've got injury concerns. Colorado has a good amount of bite, like Hasmati and Wayne Frederick, the two 22-year-olds I thought were incredibly athletic and really, really smart. And the reality is that Colorado didn't play in Leagues Cup. So you've got 8 games for LAFC, 4 games for Colorado, the freshness and the rotation. Now, as I say that, LAFC just doesn't feel goal threatening right now in these last 2 matches, which is wild because let me see if I can recall this. El Tráfico away 3-0 against LA Galaxy, 3-1 at home against Real Salt Lake. Was it 4-0 against Sporting Kansas City maybe? So all of a sudden, it's a lot of goals that you're scoring. And then you go into Leagues Cup, which was a challenge because some great teams that you're facing and a great performance against Chivas de Guadalajara in particular. They don't qualify. They put all their eggs in that basket. They give up that late goal in the last game. And now you're kind of like, okay, how do we recalibrate what we're trying to do when Houston's having a flyer, Vancouver's incredibly consistent, and now we know all of these other teams, are they real or they're fake? So Colorado deserved it. I thought they've showed that they're still a little Jekyll and Hyde-ish, but it felt like Williams is a good enough replacement for Harrington in the back, because that's going to be a big loss, obviously, but huge financial windfall for the club. And I'm interested to see how they reinvest that money, similar to the conversation we had about Gozo the other day, or a little bit earlier.
And now it's the beginning of the Marty Cifuentes administration in PDX, and now you've got LAFC in Portland. What are you anticipating now with Portland under Cifuentes?
We did the first game the other day, their last game in Leagues Cup, and you could see kind of a couple little tactical elements, a couple little rolling moments from outside backs, kind of just figuring out shading. Concerned about Kamal Miller in some of these breakdown moments when you just go and watch highlights. There seems to be that left side breakdown that's been a problem. I'm keeping an eye on Finn Sermon. He's been given the captain's band right now, but he was supposed to be the center back that was sold, not necessarily Lucas Harrington. That was all the talk, that Portland was going to capitalize on his stardom based on what he's doing both with club and country in New Zealand. The midfield, that's a boatload of money for Cole Bassett.
Mm-hmm.
Boatload of money. And I'm trying to figure out if we do this thing, right, where we're judging the capital that's being kind of moved around. I see a good player, but I don't know statistically where he falls in line. I really like Caicedo, who they signed from Pumas. I think he's incredibly intelligent. Velda's one of those guys that you absolutely despise playing against. He's an antagonist, and he's the guy that just gets under your skin. But if he's your teammate, you love the guy because he's constantly creating these like mind game. He reminds me a lot of when I played with Jeff Cunningham for all the MLS After Darkers, Jeffro in Columbus. He almost had to manufacture this moment of like Zlatan-esque, like me versus you. Like, did you just touch me? Like what? And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, straight to your face. Like just 5 knuckles, right to your dome. So that's what I love about Velda. I'm still not sure about the rumors with Kevin Kelsey with Glasgow Rangers. That did come out the 24 hours in advance of our game that we called the other day. Seems like Da Costa he's just a completely different player than Evander, and that's not good and that's not bad. Yeah. So I think as that evolution continues to happen, and Ari Lassiter has probably benefited most from these moments in the departure of Phil Neville, because they looked lost. I didn't see enough clarity under Phil on both sides of the ball that it felt like there was going to be a consistent level. They were going to have extreme highs and extreme lows. And it feels like with Cifuentes that there's a good baseline of experience, whether that's Hammarby or QPR or Leicester City, that he's had enough different variations of how he's experienced his coaching so far, his young tenure, but also put in line with the philosophy of, the Jordi Cruyff, Barcelona, La Masia development pattern. So the Brandon Bai non-contact the other night is very concerning at right back, because that means Eric Miller is going to have to be relied on with Mosquera still injured. But it feels like a team that maybe similar to last year right now with these components, 7, 6, 7, 8-ish in the Western Conference. But I mean, who knows? I didn't have Houston making this run. I didn't have St. Louis making this run. San Jose's in a spiral. Seattle's in a death spiral right now. And Real Salt Lake has a couple flat tires with their performances. So like every other year, we know Vancouver, we know LAFC, but San Diego looks like, I was going to say, going to have a good statement of intent, and then they go to Portland and get hammered with no Andres Dreyer because of that silly yellow card. By the way, no fun, police. Can we get past taking off our jersey and being shown a yellow card?
Yeah.
Like, we already have the delay because of VAR. Like, can we just get away from like taking showing yellow cards for people celebrating goals? I don't know. Anyways, I'm off my rocker.
No. Well, that's what we're here for. We are a non-rocker zone. We don't. The MV Palatero getting the red, so he's absent is not cool. When you mentioned Velda, 3 guys came to mind for me as a hockey guy: Sean Avery, Claude Lemieux, or Tom Wilson these days with the Washington Capitals.
Oh, okay.
It's like you hate them, but if they're on your team, you're like, yeah, dig it.
I mean, my last tenure in Columbus, I'll go deep. You had Rick Nash as the 19-year-old.
Oh yeah.
And anytime he got touched, you just see Jody Shelley pop.
Oh yes, Jody Shelley, that's a good one.
Yeah, and I didn't realize he's the analyst for the Blue Jackets for their television until I was in stadium. Like, I was lucky enough to go catch a game when I was doing a Columbus game a couple of years ago. And I was like, wait a second, I saw him pummel people. I remember he crushed Ty Domi and Brashear and all that stuff. And I was like, I would never want to be on that man's bad side.
No. You've got to head out the door. So I have topics on the table.
We can go top of the hour. I can push it. I got nothing.
I don't. Yeah, but
you're straight. I like this conversation.
Well, what we'll do is this. All right. So I'll meet you in the middle here. Coolest moment that you had being HBS for the World Cup was what?
Oh man.
Choice D, all the above.
I got to give a shout out to the crew that I was with. Ellen, she's outstanding as a talent. She was the first female play-by-play for FIFA ever on the male side in the men's game. She is an outstanding talent, and I'm really excited to see what her future looks like. She calls on the women's side the Super League. She's Champions League finals, all this stuff. England women, like, she is a rock star. She's a superstar. I was so impressed with her handle on the game and her rhythm, and like she was outstanding. And then everybody from Robo and everyone behind the scenes, like, I was lucky enough to be with a group that FIFA World Cup, Champions League, FA Cups, final. These are all finals that they've done. Premier League, ITV, BBC Sport, TNT Sports over in England. They accepted me immediately, and we were together every day for basically, what was it, like 30 days. We did 5 games down in Monterrey, Mexico. What an incredible city. What incredible people. That stadium, in my humble opinion, as night falls and the sunset, is the most beautiful setting that I've ever been a part of. Absolutely gorgeous. And then we ended July 4th out in Philly for France against Paraguay, Paraguay was holding on for dear life. It would have been more fascinating if it had been Germany, but credit to Paraguay. It was a hell of a battle. I think it had to have been, and we saw some amazing games. I mean, my games, just to be really quick, were Sweden, Tunisia. Tunisia implodes.
Yes.
Herb Renard shows up, the sexiest man, and on the sideline.
3 buttons on the white shirt. Yeah.
And by the way, 2 of our camera ladies ended up out on a run and ran into him his very first day, and they were just like, "Huh." And I was like, "Huh." Like, it was amazing. So the second game was Japan, Tunisia, which was an amazing game. What did we end with? Oh, then we ended with Korea Republic against South Africa. What an incredible meltdown and success that was in real time. And then our first knockout game was Netherlands against Morocco. So I'm going to go with Netherlands, Morocco.
Okay.
By the way, they had a police dog outside the stadium, which was amazing. And so much credit to the Mexican fans that were there just to watch the World Cup, because after about 15 minutes, this is like the Mexican footballing soccer knowledge. After about 15 minutes, they'd already picked their team. The fans inside the stadium had picked their team for the day based on just like, prove to me that you're worthy of our love. And so Sweden got it. Japan then got it. We thought it was going to be Holland, but it ended up being the Moroccans that got it. And and the South Africans, which was wild because obviously the Mexican fan base's love affair for South Korea, Korea Republic, and Sonny in particular. But they'd go outside the stadium and they'd sing this song. Basically, it was like, we fell in love with the way that you play, and now you're Mexican. And so it was really, really fun to be a part of. But yeah, that Netherlands Morocco game was an outstanding game. Morocco's history, whether you talk about the 17s, the 20s, the Olympic team, AFCON, or the run that they had in the World Cup, like they're a generational powerhouse right now, and it's so much fun to watch. And then a Dutch side where Ronald Koeman switched his formation for the first time for literally 2 years. It was like March of 23, the last time he went to a 3-back system, which to me suggested insecurity and so much affinity and respect and awareness of what Morocco was trying to do. So yeah, that along with being from 7-mile hikes and walks to playing paddle every morning to like just being around a group of people that were so tight. I mean, every meal, lunches, dinners, breakfasts, we were together. We were doing things it was an amazing familial experience in a world in which, me being an American, I wasn't sure what I was walking into in terms of, were they going to respect me? How could I earn their respect? How quickly could I, create organic relationships with them? And that was my debut World Cup. So an incredible opportunity.
Yep, and my Amex is still smoking from the amount of gear that I bought the entire time. I mean, literally.
You pick up any ranch? I was in Seattle's airport. There was plenty of ranch that was front and center and available.
Well, I can go down the street to the Kroger and get all that. That's easy. But no, literally, I'm still trying to find space for these here in the studio.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm in serious trouble.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah, and the T-shirts and everything. Trust me, the boss commandeered all the T-shirts when they walked in the door. She's like, "Oh," and I'm like, "I know what that means." All right.
Yeah.
Major League Soccer. Right now, 10, 11, 12 internationally on this and every other planet. Right now, when you rank them, I don't know what the Neptunian Premier League is when it comes to rankings or anything like that. But you figure 10, 11, 12. After the top 4 leagues in the planet, 5 through 12, it's pretty close when you can sit there and jumble your order. For Major League Soccer to capitalize off of the World Cup and what happened here in the country, looking at the economics and the growth of the league and all these other things that are coming down the pike, how did they get to number 5? And how hard of a slog is that going to be? I think it's a piece of opportunity here for MLS to be recognized as one of the top 5 leagues in the world.
Yeah, I like the way that you approach this, because I think far too often, you get these bombastic takes and, these definitive lines of confrontation that people try to create. I've been in this league since 1997. I went to the very first game when Tony Meola, and I'll even go deeper, Danny Barber, and a couple of the Cal State Fullerton boys with the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars were at the Rose Bowl playing the Galaxy on opening night of Major League Soccer. And I was there inside that stadium. And I can remember just thinking to myself, and my coach was Clay Koyman growing up, and he had to leave. He was starter right back in the 94 World Cup team in Detroit against Switzerland. Went down, played for LA Lasers indoor, played for Cal Heat, going down to Juarez, was the first American captain of Cruz Azul. So that was and then getting to watch Tony and Lex and Balboa and Harksey and Tab and everyone down in Southern California, the build up to the World Cup. I was like, holy moly. We got a league. I'm at Cal State Fullerton. I'm a freshman right now. Maybe one day. And then fast forward to 97 and July 4th. And, I'm sitting on the bench and making my debut at the Rose Bowl against the LA Galaxy. 98 degrees, by the way, was the halftime entertainment, just to throw it all back.
Wow.
For the old school heads. Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm unapologetically MLS. And I know at times people can kind of throw it around. Well, you're paid to do that. And I genuinely love this league. And I think that's okay. I think that's fine for me to love this league. But I'm also aware enough that there are certain challenges, and probably the biggest challenge is something that MLS can never overcome, similar to none of the South American teams can overcome, none of the African teams can overcome, and that's for players that have the desire to play on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. And if you have that Champions League desire, which a lot of people from around the world do, well, that's, where you have to find yourself playing your domestic football, your club football. It's the same conversation with Saudi, by the way. Same conversation when the money was being dropped in China, same in Japan, same in UAE, same in Qatar. All the Copa Lib teams, those players are going to get pulled. So I think is we can kind of find this appetite for a real conversation that doesn't include these bombastic takes, lighting everything on fire. I think a couple things can be true.
Yeah.
I think we can acknowledge that this league is incredibly strong, and it's much stronger than people give it credit. And you can live with the high flyers, with the Sonnies and the Mullers and the Griezmanns and the Casemiros and the Messis and the Zlatans and the Thierrys and all those guys. But you can also live in a world where kind of the Miggy Almirons exist, and all of these young, dynamic, quote unquote, foreign designated players are coming in from 19, 20, 21, 22. There's an incredible world for like a David Martinez, or for Christopher Velda, who's in the prime of his career, or a David Acosta, or a Hani Mukhtar, or a Vander, and all those things. And as well in this conversation, we can also talk about the Berhalters developing and going over to Borough. We can talk about, Max Arston. We can talk about now watching Alex Freeman in the competition at Villarreal. We can talk about Gozo. So I think all of these things as a business model can be true, where you can develop and you can sell and you can identify and you can purchase And then you can still recognize that there's opportunities for eyeballs and butts in seats for these elite players whose, by the way, their competition factor is I want to win, I want to grind, I want to kill you. And how funny is it right now, specific to, Quinn and Kevin the other night, that Inter Miami can be superheroes and they can be villains at the same time. So what do we need to do? Listen, full credit to Don Garber. I can remember being there when Risto Stoichkov was being introduced at New York headquarters of MLS. And I was in the building when Garber was there day one. I can remember Garber talking about, his ownership meeting was a table with 5 chairs, and now it's a boardroom of executives and investors. And I think as the transition period right now, coming off the World Cup during Lionel Messi's tenure, thinking about the transition of power from now Don Garber to Larry Berg, thinking about the evolution of now we're in this final run of this particular build of a season that's going to go to the sprint season that's now going to start on the international calendar. All of these things are important moments for MLS. And I say this with the utmost respect to your question. Stop worrying about where they rank in terms of the perception of the world and just be authentically Major League Soccer. And I also think that comes with a nimbleness of adjusting, and whether that's the calendar, whether that's the playoff format, whether that's taking the reins off of general managers, sporting directors with oversight and allowing teams to just go spin. I mean, I was talking to Max the other day. How incredible would it be if in this world that you could actually create a little dynamic that keeping the U.S. players doesn't financially hamper you like a designated player or a U22 initiative. So like the evolution of the roster growth and kind of the free spend, rising tide lifts all ships. I think what Miami is doing is great for the league.
Right.
I think that allows other teams to come in and say, hold on a second, like Chicago, I want to spend, I want to build, I want to have a training facility, I want a brand new stadium downtown. I have the financial backing to build a super roster. I don't want to necessarily lose Kuipers to add Lewandowski. I think these are kind of this is the rocket path, and I think right now, MLS, I don't think we give enough credit to David Beckham's decision to come to Major League Soccer at a time which changed the trajectory of the league. And on top of that, I think we have to acknowledge where we're at right now is that with the slowing down of expansion, you're seeing multi-billion-dollar investment ownership groups into individual teams. And maybe something like Seattle needs at this point with Adrian Hanauer. Like, do you need to go find a Steve Ballmer or somebody like that to then have the ability for super spend? Are you trying to build your own stadium? Are you trying to acquire an NWSL team? Like all of these things, are you building the infrastructure, and how much is your capital loss on having a 16s, an 18s, a second team, a living facility, having access to a STEM school? All of these things are really interesting conversations. But I feel like the league's growing much faster than people want to give it credit for.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we have to have conversations like these, just kind of thinking like, hold on, there's a bunch of data points as opposed to, hey, pay to play is ruining our sport. By the way, if anybody can figure out pay to play, let me know.
Yeah.
I heard Landon said he had an answer. I love LD. Give me a shout, bro, because I just dropped 24 grand last year on my 3 boys. I would love to alleviate that spend. So yeah, let me know.
And this is why we have look, I go into added time more than the average bear. I'm supposed to go 9:05 to 11:05 Monday through Friday, but 9 days out of 7 during the week, I'm going north of 2 hours just because of all these things to talk about. I can't thank you enough for doing this.
It's a blast, man.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like because we have this space, that's why we get to have these kinds of conversations and instead of sitting there and going, like oh God, who was it that used to say this stuff? It was like, death, taxes. We're not the 3-letter paper over in England. That's not how we're wired. But to have this kind of stuff going across the page, that's why we like to have these kind of conversations. Okay, you officially have the garage door opener. You know where the key is under the mat. You know what Fridays are. Frankly, any day of the week, look, sit there and go, look, Nelly, I'm bored. I got to get something off my chest. We got to come in here. That's what we're here for, especially on Fridays, because you're at MD minus ones, nothing's going on. So go back to your day, and the next time you're at AFF, say hi to our Jarrett Smith, the tall drink of water that's out there with us now.
I appreciate, my man. Thank you so much. This has been a blast.
You good? That goes Brian Dunseth. He's cool. He's a Titan. He's an elephant. He's got elephants and things. All right. So, yeah, we're at 11 o'clock. Man, that went a long way. All right. So let's get into juice boxes and things. All right. So let's get juice boxes and all that stuff. All right. And let's see. So basically everything that I might have had in the rundown, obviously with the conversations we had with Carlos Mauricio Ramirez and with Brian Dunseth, blew up the rundown. But what else is new? All right. So here we go. It is, yes. Well, it was I'm kind of forget who it was. Oh, I think it was Steve. Was it either Steve Dunleavy or David Frost? I can't remember. They were trying to figure out what it was with the 3-letter paper overseas, and it's like death, taxes, royalty, and it's literally that's what the headlines were. That's not how we're wired. We do things to where we can talk about it and give it breadth and depth. All right, so juice boxes on the weekend for Major League Soccer. All right, so here we go on all the days really quickly. CF Montreal a plus 116, hosting LAG, who's a plus 200. Draws a plus 263. Charlotte minus 128, hosting DC United a plus 296. Draws a plus 284. Red Bulls a dog at home to Chicago at a plus 166. Chicago a plus 129. Draws a plus 286. FC Cincinnati minus 145, hosting Seattle, who's a plus 300. The draws a plus 328. Nico Moreno said that Seattle really should be a plus 400. Messi and friends in Toronto. Messi and friends minus 286, hosting Toronto at the plus 600. No Georgi Mihailovic, or no Walker Zimmerman. Sorry, no Walker Zimmerman in this one for Toronto at a plus 600. Draws a plus 448. Purple team in RSL with Carlos Mauricio Ramirez. He is a minus 109. Draws a plus 307. RSL's a plus 225. Austin at Q2 is a plus 219, hosting Philadelphia at a plus 108. Draws a plus 259. Nashville, minus 147, hosting Crew at a plus 353. Draws a plus 284. St. Louis City SC a plus 110 to Houston's plus 229. That's got to be a line mistake. Think about that one. Houston on the road at St. Louis City, a plus 229, draws a plus 250. Think about that one. Vancouver minus 222, hosting FCD at a plus 491, draws a plus 365. San Diego FC with Adrian Garcia Marquez, a minus 103. Colorado a plus 234, draws a plus 280. LAFC a minus 175. Portland's a plus 386, draws a plus 341. San Jose a plus 112. Minnesota United a plus 194, draws a plus 279. The two games on Sunday, 4:30, which probably means 4:50. Revs a plus 125, hosting NYC at a plus 188. Draws a plus 257. Atlanta United favored at a minus 152. Draws a plus 313. Sporting Kansas City is a plus 340. Those are juice boxes for MLS on the weekend. So now let's take a peek and who's doing what, who is in the middle, who's got whistles, and what we're staring at when it comes to everything on tomorrow. Charlotte FC, DC United. Eligio Adeguin is the man in the middle. Ian McKay, Kevin Lockyer, your AR. Sergi Boyko, your fourth. JC Rivero, Craig Lowry are upstairs. FC Cincinnati, Seattle. Drew Fisher in the middle. ARs, Michael Barwig and Laya Zarfa. Fourth is Chris Penso, Eunice Marakchi, Claudio Badea are upstairs. Messi and friends, Toronto FC. Ismail Elfath in the middle. Adam Winkowski, Nick Balser, your ARs. Rubiel Vasquez, your AR. Michael Radchuk, Jeff Mushik are upstairs. CF Montreal, LA Galaxy. Lorenzo Hernandez is in the middle. Chris Elliott, Jason White, your AR. Sebastian Notion Ravani. I think that's the first time he's had a fourth this season. Greg Dopka, Joshua Patlak are upstairs. Red Bull Chicago, Sergei Demyanchuk in the middle. Eric Weisbrod, Stephen McGonigal, your ARs. Carlos Rodriguez is your fourth. Kevin Stott, Robert Schapp are upstairs. Fotis Bazakis gets the purple team in RSL. That'll be an interesting match. Brian Dunn, Tyler Wyrostic, your ARs. Marcus de Oliveira, your fourth. Edvin Jurasevich, TJ Zablocki are upstairs. Q2, Austin and Philly, Rodrigo Albuquerque in the middle. Cameron Blanchard, Jeremy Hansen, your ARs. Armando Villarreal, your fourth. Jeff Gamble, Tom Supple are upstairs. Nashville Crew, Victor Rivas in the middle. Corey Parker, Gianni Facchini, your ARs. Alan Chapman is your fourth. Daniel Radford, Fabio Tovar are upstairs. St. Louis City, Houston, Alexis De Silva's in the middle. Jeffrey Greason, Matthew Nelson, no relation. Your ARs. Joe Surgan, who's your fourth. I think that's the first time he's been in this season. Ismail Peckminch, Milligan Brown are upstairs. Vancouver FCD, Malik Badawi's the middle. Jeff Swartzel, Gerard Cader-Lebuy are your ARs. Alan Ruck is your fourth. David Barry, Rhett Hamill are upstairs. John Freeman, no relation, in the middle for LAFC in Portland. Catherine Nesbitt, Felicia Mariscal, your ARs. Ricardo Fierro is your fourth. JC Rivero, TJ Zablocki are upstairs. San Diego at the Murph Dragon hosting Colorado. Pierre-Luc Lozier is the man in the middle. Kyle Atkins, Stefan Tanaka front, your ARs. Remy Touchant, your fourth. Eunice Marakchu, Claudio Badea are upstairs. San Jose in Minnesota, Jair Marufo in the middle. Adam Garner, Eduardo Jeff, your ARs. Joe Dickerson is your fourth. Greg Dopka, Robert Schapp are upstairs. Sunday, it is New England and New York City FC. Guido Gonzalez Jr. is your man in the middle. Jeremy Kiso, Matthew Schwartz, your ARs. Philip Dujic is your fourth. Ismir Peckminch, Fabio Tovar are upstairs. Now, Atlanta United, Sporting Kansas City. Tori Penso is in the middle. Brooke Mayo, Walt Heatherly, your ARs. Rosendo Mendoza is your fourth. Daniel Radford, Joshua Patlack are upstairs. Now, let's take a peek at Tori Penso. Go to our friends at Who Scored and break it all down when it comes to ref stats and see what to expect possibly from Tori Penso. So let's see. Referee, feel like Keely Jones all of a sudden. All right, so no, I did not mean reserve. Referee stats. So Who Scored? Referee stats. Okay, so here we go. 2025, I don't want that because I need 2026. So here we go. Ref stats, 2026. No, ref stats. I don't want the breakdown of the grid. Okay, Tori Penso is the name that we are looking for. Tori has called 10 matches this year. Her fouls per game put her lower third, frankly, next to last. Tori Penso in fouls called per match is in 10 matches, she averages 19 fouls called per match. So with Atlanta, a team that can either play or can be physical when they need to be, Tori Penso really doesn't use the whistle a whole lot. Alan Chapman is 17.87. Tori Penso is an even 19. Sergi Boyko is third from last at 20.2. Jair Marufo is at 19.86. So Tori Penso next to last in fouls called per match at 19 even, which means fouls per tackle. She is 29th out of 33, and that includes Michael Venn, who has only called one match this season. 0.68 fouls per tackle, 29th out of 33. Penalties per match so far this season, she has called no pens this year at all. Yellows per match, 23rd. She's at 3.7. So she doesn't call a whole lot of fouls, but in those fouls, she gives 3.7 yellows. So 1 out of every 5 on average, 3.7 yellows for 19 fouls called per match. So doesn't call a whole lot of fouls, but the yellow card ratio is something to keep an eye on. So that's your Tori Penso update with that coming up this weekend at Mercedes-Benz. It'll be good to see everybody there on Sunday. Now, I don't know if you've heard about this thing called the Premier League. They're back. And we have juice boxes for them. Starts today, actually. Arsenal and Coventry City. Coventry City, by the way, is a plus 12-13. At 1,500 hours, they're a plus 12-13. Arsenal wins a minus 500. Set your fantasy teams accordingly. Tomorrow, Hull City is a dog hosting Manchester United at a plus 725. Manchester United a minus 270. Everton has Palace. Everton favored at home at a plus 119. Ipswich and Sunderland. Ipswich, the Tractor Boys, a slight dog. I wonder if Ed Sheeran will be there. Ed Sheeran will be there for this one. 10 o'clock, Sunderland is a plus 161 at Ipswich. Nottingham Forest a plus 129 at City Ground hosting Leeds, who's a plus 206. 12:30, Brentford hosting Spurs at a plus 136. And Tottenham Hotspur are a plus 179. Draws a plus 254. Sunday, Brighton favored at home at the Amex hosting Aston Villa at a plus 213. Brighton's a plus 119. Manchester City at 9 o'clock hosting Bournemouth at a minus 213. It is plus 500 for Bournemouth, draws a plus 374. Newcastle and Liverpool by themselves at 11:30 Eastern. Newcastle a plus 275. Liverpool a minus 114, draws a plus 283. Monday Night Football, Fulham and Chelsea. Chelsea minus 115. Fulham a plus 271, draws a plus 275. Now, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We'll check with all of our sources, and then we will get you out of here for a who's what's it? What do you call it? Wrap up. We'll get you going. All right. So, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and we will set the table for what's going on. All right. Paredes gets a 10-match ban for the World Cup final brawl. Arsenal confirms Ezri Konsa, £51 million signing from Aston Villa. Spurs have agreed $102 million a deal for Savinho for Manchester City. City is in talks for Palmeiras' winger Elias. That was $100 million. Thomas Partey joins Al-Shabaab on a free. Brendan Aronson inks a new 3-year deal at Leeds. Brighton has rejected a £68 million bid for Liverpool's Yakuba Minte. Now, the rest of the run. Transfer talk. Here we go. All right, we'll go through all of the other stuff. Arsenal looking into the possibility of signing Kenan Yildiz from Juve, according to The Independent. High up on the list of targets, Juve said evaluation of over €70 million on any exit for the Turkiye international, 11 goals, all comps last year. The league we don't talk about, it's Al Hilal, have added Gabriel Martinelli to their short list, reporting Fabrizio Romano. Gunners have also made a pre-contract offer to sign 17-year-old winger Andrea Bartishvili, who has been compared to Kavicka Kvaratskhelia, according to the BBC. Georgian U21 coming to the end of his deal at FC Colchetti toward the end of the year. Liverpool and Juve are interested. Manchester United, Alejandro Balda, spoken with his camp. Barcelona left back viewed as a potential option to strengthen the position. Once again, Fabrizio Romano, linked with Racing Santander's Jorge Salinas, Lewis Hall at Newcastle, RB Leipzig's David Raum. 22-year-olds reported to be happy with the Blaugrana, where things stand. Inter Milan striker Lautaro Martinez emerged as a transfer target for Barcelona, according to Florian Plettenberg. He has spent 8 years with Inter, 175 and 56 and 376 appearances, while earning the club's captaincy, continuing to assess their attacking options as a deal for Julian Alvarez is looking more and more difficult. Mundo Deportivo reports Atleti are open to an exit, but only if he joins Arsenal. Keep an eye on that. Manchester City have acquired about the availability of Adam Morton at Crystal Palace, according to David Ornstein. Interest of a new boss, two new boss, Enzo Maresca. City continue their options in the midfield following the exits of Rodri and Bernardo Silva. Team has signed Elliot Anderson, closing in on a deal for Lille's Ayub Buwadi. Palace don't want Wharton to go. AC Milan want a new center back, looking at Ruben Diaz, according to Gazzetta dello Sport. Could be rejoining Ruben Amorim at the San Siro, but he has a contract until 2029 and an option for 1 more year. Aaron Wan-Bissaka was announced at Villa from West Ham, season-long loan, conditional obligation to sign permanently, and that is tied to promotion. Thomas Partey signed for Al-Shabaab, former Arsenal Atleti Villarreal midfielder. We mentioned Savinho, £85 million. Nicolas Jackson, Madrid looking to beat Aston Villa to the loan from Chelsea. Matteo Alemany traveled to London to negotiate. Jackson spent last year on loan with Bayern Munich. Manchester City in talks to sign Alan Elias. Talked about that yesterday. Yakuba Minte, once again, $50 million rejected. Marmoush keen on joining Spurs. Currently talking between the two clubs, with according to Team Talk. Bayer Leverkusen center back Edmund Tapsoba is on the radar of Manchester United, Spurs, and Newcastle. Brighton not expecting another offer for Minte in the window, which has already been rejected. Fabrizio Romano, Porto. Club-to-club contact with AC Milan over a deal to sign Santi Jimenez after the Serie A club rejected an initial proposal to take him on loan with an option to buy. Nicolas Shearer. Villa and Palace eyeing a move for Yusuf Fofana, AC Milan midfielder, star among those who could leave the roster before the transfer window closes. Shearer again, Villa showing interest in Chelsea's Tosin Adarabioyo and AC Milan's Fikayo Tomori as a potential defensive replacement for Ezri Konsa. Sky Sports. Napoli have opened talks with Chelsea over a switch for Nicolas Jackson. Atletico de Madrid pushing a deal to sign Jackson from Chelsea, once again remaining attentive to a possible replacement for Julian Alvarez. Chelsea's David Washington is of interest to Marseille this summer. Strasbourg, Sevilla. If Strasbourg offers Chelsea, it's like you're the same family. It's moving paper. Real Sociedad tracking a deal for Chelsea striker Mark Guyu, prioritizing a loan move. Final few days of the window. That's from Ekrem Konur. Team talk again. Dortmund remain keen on landing a new winger this summer. Arsenal's Ethan Nwaneri high on the list. Manchester United Dortmund star Jadon Sancho could return after becoming a free agent. Independent Liam Delap, Forest, and Ipswich tracking. Florian Plettenberg, Benfica reached a full agreement with Bayern Munich for the permanent signing of João Palhinha, linked with a move to Newcastle and Villa. Now looks set for a return to Portugal. Now we go to the 280 and find out what's going on the Twitters. Let's see how busy Ben Jacobs has been. Sunderland confirming defender Diane Methali has joined from Toulouse on a 5-year deal at 28 million plus 2 in euros, proceeding with the deal after extra medical tests, despite the fact that Methali had returned to France. We mentioned the Ezri Konsa deal. Konsa smiling to the camera, pen elevated over a piece of paper, multiple people smiling. So that's a done deal. Andrea Berta is there, as is the perfectly coiffed Mikel Arteta. Shakhtar Donetsk is going to play their home Champions League games at Stamford Bridge this year. And Chelsea said, given their disappointing 25-26 season failure to qualify, the club is pleased to provide Shakhtar with the opportunity to play in London. Keep an eye on that. Leeds trying to loan Mykhailo Mudryk from Chelsea, one of a number of attackers in consideration. Nothing advanced yet. Mudryk understood to be open to the move. Talks ongoing. Argentine Football Association has been fined $321,000 for the breaches in the World Cup final. Leandro Paredes, once again, a 10-game ban. AFA has been ordered to play its next 2 home matches with a limited number of spectators, 50%. FIFA Disciplinary Committee further determined that $100,000 of the $321 must be invested in a plan to combat discrimination, and the implementation of the part of the sanction, one of the 2 matches, and the $100,000 of the fine is suspended. Probationary period applies. In addition, bans for several individuals, including the 10-match suspension for Paredes, and a fine of $90,000. Nahuel Molina, 7 matches and a fine of $90,000. Thiago Almada, 1 match, $30,000. Team official Roberto Ayala, 3 matches, $30,000. Pablo Martin Paez Gavira, 1 match suspension and a fine of $30,000. De Zerbi has confirmed Mickey Van de Ven as Tottenham's new captain. Villa remain in talks with Southampton for Taylor Harwood Bellis, 18 plus 2 in pounds has been rejected. New offer expected soon. $65 million, the asking price for Nicholas Jackson. Villa still is interested. Also, let's see, Divine Mukasa, Manchester City, 18-year-old attacker. Second half of last season was at Leicester. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is holding up a jersey, along with Unai Emery and 2 other folks. Dan Bentley joined Coventry City in net on a 2-year deal. Spurs in advanced talks with Marmoush. Savinho, 75 plus 10 in add-ons. $5 million of the bonuses are guaranteed. And Charlie Gray, Manchester City midfielders, joined Wigan on a season-long loan. Let's see if there's anything going on domestically that we need to know about before we get out of here on the day. Let's see if there's anything that has been updated across the board. Michael Parkhurst had mentioned the J.J. Williams transaction that is official, that is still in the pipeline, but not officially official as of yet. It is, let's see, Austin FC is going to name Minnesota United's Khaled Al-Ahmad as the club's new chief soccer officer, according to sources. Jim Curtin taking over as head coach this winter. He's joining immediately to lead Austin. Hank Stebbins is taking over as interim sports director. Stebbins, currently the team's head of recruitment, highly thought of within the organization, expected to be a candidate for the permanent gig. And let's see, he's going to lead the Khaled Al-Ahmad is going to join the technical staff currently as Dean Kostelis, who joined this summer as senior VP of soccer strategy, worked with Curtin in Philly. And it is early in the CSO search. Austin had requested to be able to speak to Chris Albright from Cincinnati. FCC turned them down, and that was the early conversation involving Jim Curtin. Columbus Crew in advanced talks to sign Santi Rodriguez from Botafogo. Cesar Luis Merlo was first there. Remember, he was doing well at NYCFC before joining Botafogo in a big money deal. Crew is working on it, so we'll see what happens in that. And I think we're out the door. Man, let's see if there's anything else that I might have missed. And once again, if you have not subscribed to Morning Espresso, our newsletter, you can go to soccerdownhere.net, drop down, put your email address in, hit send, you get Morning Espresso, and that is there every single day as we post it for you. Let's see, Long Island landed a USL League One franchise, and that's going to be at Hofstra. And so now that'll be Westchester, the Cosmos, and Long Island, all in USL League One to kind of create a hub. Toronto FC's made a move for Santiago Solari, not Santi Solari. Racing Club, formal offer, proposing a 1-year loan, $250,000 fee, obligation to purchase, move the decimal place, and the deal would also leave Racing entitled to a 10% fee on the sell-on. So let's see if there's anything else that I might have missed. PSG's moved their season opener away at Rennes instead of at home because of the heat wave, Parc des Princes, and they're going to play. The plan is to replace the pitch before hosting Monaco September 4th. And France recorded their hottest day on average nationwide June 24th. Temperatures at 112, basically 110 degrees in late June on my birthday. Cabo Verde named Humberto Betancourt as their new head coach, replacing Bubista. And Betancourt worked with the program for 6 years as an assistant. And Rosario Central got eliminated from the Copa Libertadores as they lost 1-0 to 10-man Corinthians in Sao Paulo. So that is what to look at as we head into another weekend. Man, that was big. All right, let me clear my throat one more time. All right. Thanks to Dunny. Thanks to Carlos Mauricio Ramirez. That was cool. And I didn't mean to keep Dunny as long as we did, but it was a great conversation. And thanks to everybody that we saw in Athens last night for UGA. Thanks to Glenn Davis. Thanks to Jill Lloyden and Marion Crowder for hanging out with us for a little bit. And thanks to all of you for yet another big week here on SDH AM. And enjoy your games this weekend. We will see you on Sunday. Saturday, we might see you at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground, the 2s, and OCB, 1 o'clock, 12:30 pregame on the network. Maddie and Jason will be up there. I will be coming back from Perry, so I will be in here producing and letting everybody know what else is going on. So thanks to David. Thanks to Abby. Neil Heaton, Phillies in Cleveland. He was definitely in Cleveland, and it finished up in Pittsburgh, too. So Abby and Dell and Nix and David, now that everybody can hear me after not having the right input, up and running at the beginning of the show. So thanks again to all of you guys for hanging out with us as long as you do. That was a great show. CMR, Parky, and Dunny, and all of you. So thanks for hanging out with us here on SDH AM. Since it is the end of yet another week, we know what that means. And there's only one way to make sure that we celebrate it properly. We have to celebrate it properly because it is yet another Monday through Friday that we have all survived. It's time to get into the weekend. Enjoy your high school football, tackle football, if that is how you are inclined. Mucho Platiel, play it safe, and we'll catch up with you maybe tonight, tomorrow at Children's Healthcare for the 2s, Mercedes-Benz Sunday Night Soccer as Sporting Kansas City comes to town. Play it safe, everybody. We'll catch up with you before you know it.
The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours.